Hi, I'm Mark Diano.
And I'm Desiree Hadley, and welcome to episode 5 of Hold the Line with Mayor Baraka. Now, Mayor, today we're going to talk about the environmental justice bill that the governor signed last week. We're also going to touch on the relation between COVID and the flu shot and voter suppression.
So, Mayor, a number of years ago, you led caravans down to the port to demand jobs from the Longshoremen's Union and get Newark residents hired down there. So, with the environmental justice bill, you got to balance what is good for the economy versus the pollution. And so, as a city, we have these major polluters, but they're also major employers.
Yeah, but I think that the contradiction is not as big as people lay it out to be, because the mitigation efforts are also opportunities to create jobs, to mitigate the kind of bad actors and the pollution in the air and the water is also helps to create more industry and create more jobs around that. So a green economy is also a part of where we should be going, and we have to begin to prepare industry and people for those kind of green jobs that become available when you begin to mitigate those things.
Are you talking to any of the colleges like NJIT or Rutgers about creating specific programs for those kind of environmental mitigation using Newark residents?
Well, I think they already do that. The key is trying to get our residents and students into those universities, and we've been working hard with those universities and Newark City Learning Collaborative to make sure there's a pipeline of our kids that are going to NJIT, to Rutgers, to Essex County, to all of those places.
So with this bill, it's going to basically create restrictions, right, for companies who create pollution around cities that are impacted by the pollution, right?
Right.
So,
yep, go ahead.
So with families or the youth or people who just feel like, this bill may be too late. There are people who already suffer from asthma and respiratory issues. What do you say to those people?
It is too late for some people, but they're still existing, so people still can get sick. And so what happens is this bill, so we already have a cumulative impact ordinance in Newark already. So the governor signed the bill, not me. We signed ours a while ago.
Right.
This allows, so in Newark, if a company comes, industry comes, they have to go through the zoning board to see if this has any impact on the city. The state is now furthering that, saying, listen, if this has an impact, then you have to figure out how to mitigate those impacts, invest in that, if you want this to come here. Or you can't bring it here at all, because there are some communities that are overburdened. And Newark is an overburdened community. Overburdened meaning we already have multiple incinerators. We have, all kinds of trash, waste plants, all kinds of other things like that. That is just trucks that come through our neighborhoods from the port. So all of that makes our community overburdened, and when new people come, they have to take that into consideration before they approve licenses.
Right. So I have another question related to the pollution and how it impacts kids. Like, there are kids who probably have developmental issues, as far as like when it comes to school, they might have issues learning and focusing because of the pollution. What do you say to those parents who feel like, I already said it was too late, but who feel like something is owed to them because their kids already suffered, because of the developmental issues they have?
That's why it's time. That's why we need to get it right. They've been fighting for this bill for 10 years. It finally got passed. The city's passed theirs, but the state allows us to do more, and it strengthens it. And so our community is still growing. People are still having children. People are still growing up. I think that this helps to reduce present and future folks that are going to be affected by this, people that were affected in the past. This is why we were fighting for it in the very beginning. So to those people, it may be a little too late for them, but for the most part, everybody else who may be affected by this can now have relief, right? And even people who have issues now can still get relief because the conditions that are not worsening because of the impact that these things have on the environment.
Let's move to the flu shot and the COVID vaccine. So this is, it could be murky in some people's minds. Well, we've warned that maybe the vaccine for the COVID is not a great idea yet, but go get your flu shot. And you said the other day that you got a flu shot for the first time in your life.
No, I'm about to get a flu
Oh,
shot.
wow. The first time.
Yeah,
So-
about to.
So I guess the question is, this year, people really need to get the flu shot so that they're not confused whether they have COVID or
COVID.
not, and end up overburdening the hospitals with something you could normally ride out.
Yeah, that's true. And also to help protect yourself, right? So if you get the flu, obviously, it doesn't preclude you from getting COVID as well, right? So if you get COVID with the flu that complicates that, then the probability is higher for you to succumb to the COVID-19 virus. When you have these upper respiratory issues, it becomes more difficult for you to deal with this stuff. When your immune system is weakened, it becomes more difficult. And so the flu shot, even if you get the flu, when you take the flu shot, it weakens it, right? So it's not as strong as it would be if you did not take the flu shot. And I normally don't take it, because by the grace of God, I don't usually get the flu like that. But, I have a young child at home, and I'm scared to death. So at the end of the day, I don't want to bring the flu home to him, never mind COVID-19. So I'm going to get a flu shot. Yeah.
I've never taken it before either. And
Yeah.
this year I'm taking it because, I'm 60-something years old,
Yeah.
and I'm scared to death too.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
if I end up with the flu, COVID's coming through the back door,
Yeah. And you don't know which one is which, so it gives
Right.
the doctors
Right.
a chance to rule it out. Yeah.
How do you get that message out to the public that,
Right.
this has to be done?
Because there are people who are going to say, I don't trust the flu shot or the COVID vaccine that's coming out.
Well, I think I was on a call last night just about the messaging that goes over social media and the misinformation and disinformation, which is worsening it, right? Exacerbating the fear that people have, all of these messages that are going out, the anti-vaxxers and all of those folks, knowing that we already have a natural fear of what's going on because of the history in this country. They use that and leverage that to drive us away from any sane kind of response to these viruses and sicknesses. There have been vaccines that have worked.
Mm-hmm.
The measles, the mumps, polio, right?
Right.
So it's important. You almost eradicated these diseases altogether. Polio was definitely a major killer. It's important that people begin to see it like that, and also pay attention to what's happening and study and research what's going on, and not just follow headlines that pop up here and there on social media, but to really weigh it against what you want to do yourself, for your family, for your community. You have to figure that out on your own. I don't think people should force you to do it, but I think you should have all the information necessarily so you can make a fair and democratic decision about what you want to do with your life and the people around you.
Right.
But at the same time, during COVID, you spoke often about a responsibility to the community also.
You have a responsibility to, and that's one of the things you should weigh. You should measure. What's my responsibility to my family, to my neighbors, to my friends, to the people in my neighborhood, my community, and that's important. You have a responsibility to an overall community to behave a specific way to protect and make sure that other people are safe and healthy. If you make a decision to not do a specific thing, then you have to weigh that decision against everybody else. Where you're going to be, who you're going to be around, what you're going to do, because your individual decisions should not impact my health and my welfare, right? To the point where I can perish, right? So it's important for you to make those. There's a lot of work that we have to do around this, and it's not a simple issue. It's very complex.
Yeah.
Speaking of issues, one of the big issues now is the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and how it might impact the election. Now, through COVID, civil unrest, bad economy, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the polls aren't changing at all. Biden's maintained like an 8 to 12 point lead all the way through. Do you think this would have some impact on the election? Do you hope that it does at some point?
You watch the senators who are definitely contradicting themselves and being straight hypocrites because they stopped Obama from doing this, that they're going to allow President Trump to do this now, make these appointments before the election is over. And this election is a lot sooner than the election was when Obama had the opportunity to appoint the person he wanted. But you can see that these people obviously just do not care. We're at a time in this country, a very scary period in this country. Clearly, the kind of contention and contradiction is so heightened, right? That you have people now asking to expand the number of justices. So the very system itself is in question. All these things are in question. I heard Don Lemon talking about abolishing electoral college on national TV, on national media. Never, ever have I heard any national journalist on TV say we need to abolish the electoral college. Now, I don't disagree with that, but I'm saying the fact that they are having these discussions means the very system, the very fabric of this country is in question. And there's going to be some dramatic changes coming forward, in one direction or the other.
Right.
So I don't see things remaining the same. And this Ruth Bader Ginsburg thing is, her death takes this election to another level.
Do you see, speaking of the election that's coming up, and yesterday was National Voter Registration Day, do you see voter suppression being an issue in this upcoming election here in Newark? Like, do you see people, having an issue?
Voter suppression is going to happen everywhere.
Right.
Because voter suppression now is not, when people think of voter suppression, they think of like some guys on the back of a pickup truck,
Right.
stopping people from voting, grabbing people, like
Right.
some old 50s and 60s.
Right.
Voter suppression now is
Inevitable.
all internet, social media, and that's what the panel I was on yesterday, the Hip Hop and Politics. The voter suppression, the FBI and the Homeland Security already said last year that there's going to be interference in this election in 2020, right? The Brennan Center for Social Justice did a study and showed how voter suppression is directly impacting African American communities, poor communities, Latino communities. In fact, there was an election in 2017 where people got text messages that told them the polling sites had changed, and they in fact did not change.
Wow.
Right. So that's the type of thing. It drives the vote down. People get get so upset and angry and disinterested that they walk away, and that is voter suppression. It is a very deliberate and intentional voter suppression to create these kind of arguments. They have paid trolls who actually go to people's pages and create dissension and discussion centered around things that this the anti-immigrant stuff that they put in our community. If you're not like genuinely African American, I don't know anybody at this point in their family who's like 100%. That's like this, you got to be 100% white, which is crazy. There's nobody in America
100%
at this
anything.
point.
Yeah.
That's nothing, none of that. We all Semites, right? We all half of something. You trace your roots back. You have family from Ireland and Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? From England and Ghana. So at this point, there's no purity, and that kind of argument that they're throwing in there, these are from people who think of these things and throw it into our community to drive down the vote. Oh, Biden is not going to help us. Putting videos up of Biden in 30, 40 years ago that you don't even know if it's real.
Right. That's true.
Right? And that's voter suppression. That's what it's designed to do.
Can we end on just letting people know how important the census is, being that the
Yep.
census deadline is coming up on the 30th?
It is incredibly important for representation and for hundreds of millions of dollars that this city is going to get for breakfast programs for kids, lunch programs for kids, Section 8, everything, and from roads to educational and health assistance is what we get money for when we count it properly. So fill out the census, please.